Hello, hello. It is day 94 of 100 Days of Code, and we are celebrating Ditmas Day 2. We're celebrating holidays, we're celebrating coding, and we hope you celebrate too. And if you're watching on a holiday, thank you. We give you the gift of knowledge, but in order to give you that, we need a special guest to bless us with his wisdom. And the name is Leon Andersen. Leon, how are you doing?
Hello, hello. Feeling great that I can bless everyone with your wisdom today because you are going to present another use case for useref. Um,
Exactly. Let's change that actually. You're the better. Happy holidays and Merry Youth Ref.
Merry use.
Like this. This is way more deep. Okay, so mini recap. What did we do? We looked at two cases of youth ref. First of all, counter component. And here we looked at how useref can actually, let's look at the console here, can track state that is not causing re-renders, right? So we're rendering the current count here, but even though the console here, the console log turns out, we're not incrementing anything until we're doing a re-render and then the current state is being updated. So click the twice, now it's 8. And then the second use case that we looked at is focus management. So refs in React can be used to save a reference to, for example, an input. And there we can then use ref and the methods of the input like focus or select to or whatever to basically call these methods on inputs. And one of the common use cases is focus management. So if you pay attention right now, I'm not focusing anything, but if I click this button, well, now I'm focusing the input. And that is the second use case of use ref. But there is another very common one. And this other very common use ref is the one of saving things that need to be exactly remembered and then maybe, destroyed again after it gets traded. So what is something that you usually need to create and then later manually clear? One such thing is an interval. So as the use case for today, let's imagine we want to create a timer component, like a little countdown, or let's say a second counter, like this. And what we want to end up with basically is we want to show how many seconds have passed in here. But let's start with 0 and render it, and then we can start. So how would you implement something like that? Something that takes use cases for this are, for example, let's say you want to build a marketing page, right? And you have a product launch and you want to have one of those nice animations that slowly ticks down. Or maybe you're building a game and you want to count the time, right? How do you do that? And the solution will involve using useref. So what we can do is we can abstract away the timer logic into a custom hook. That is something that we looked at the last time also a little bit. Our custom hook is going to be called use interval because, well, before we do the implementation here, let's think about why would this custom hook look like that. So if I had a fairy right here and I was like, hey, fairy, I want this hook, this miracle hook, and I would like to use it like this. I would like to be able to call use interval, and the first argument should be the callback that gets executed on every tick of the interval. And for our second counter here, what we would like to do is we would like to have the current seconds, and we would like to have the ability to set, I could spell set seconds like this, to set the seconds, maybe say seconds, plural right here, and obviously use state, default value is 0. And then instead we can say here, instead of 0, we render the seconds, just re-render, click check, still looks all the same. And here in our hook, what we like to do is every second, we would like to increase the second by one. And let's say we want to do that every second. So let's actually say delay in milliseconds right here. So this is our Dream API. Right now, obviously, it doesn't do anything. So let's make it happen. Let's implement the use interval hook so that this logic works. But before we do that, is everything up to here clear?
I would say 80% because I guess the 20% are missing, like what you're up to exactly. But until here, I guess most, yeah, I have a rough understanding. Yes.
Okay, so I mean, this is obviously, I mean, the implementation here should be a black box and unknown, but I hope that this makes sense, right? We have a component that should count seconds every second that should basically increment by one, right? 1, 2, 3, and so forth, and so forth.
Yes.
And view state probably makes sense, right? And what we did here was just, I was just thinking, okay, if I had a Dream API, if I would make it as easy as possible on me, this is how I would design it to make it super easy, right?
Yes.
Yes. So is this at least clear?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. So now let's jump into the unknown. So let's think about this. So have you ever used before something like set interval?
No.
You have used set timeout though, right?
Yes.
Yes. So set timeout and set interval are pretty much the same, only that set timeout only, if you remember, set timeout looked like this. You put a callback in here and then you put the number of seconds in here, right? But with set timeout, this callback right here only gets executed once. Whereas with set interval, we can also put a callback in here and a timer, but now this function gets executed every this much time. Oh, if and the time is measured in milliseconds, so this would execute every second. Cool. Okay. And set interval also has a return value. So set interval actually returns an interval, and you can later, like, because you want to be able to stop this, right? Because if you just write this code without capturing the interval in a variable like this, then this will just run forever. And in order to stop an interval, you use something called clear interval, which is just a function that is defined everywhere. So you can already see it is auto-completing for me here because clear interval just exists, similar to how promise exists, right? And how function, the keyword exists. Clear interval is just a function that simply exists in all modern JavaScript frameworks or all modern JavaScript runtimes, similar to how set interval and set timeout, they all exist just natively by the JavaScript runtime.
Makes sense.
Okay. Sweet. So the idea is basically we have to set up an interval like this, and then later, when we want to get rid of it, we have to clear it. So let's start with this. The way that we would do it is we would basically have something like a use effect, because the use effect would run when this custom hook mounts like this. And we don't know yet what we want to put in here. But it would look something like this. Const interval equals to set interval. And then we already know the callback that should get executed because we're passing it in here, right? We want this to be executed on every tick. So we can just throw it here into the interval. And we also know when, after how many milliseconds the interval should basically tick. So we can throw it in here and say delay in milliseconds. And obviously we also at some point want to clear this up. So we need like a clear interval like this. So this is basically the basic gist of the code. But obviously we need some tweaks in here. So first of all, whenever the time changes, we probably want to create a new interval for that time. And if you remember, useEffect has a dependency array, and you can just throw in the value that should basically cause this callback from useEffect to run again. And in our case, we want it to run again when the delay changes. So we can throw the delay in here. We can say, hey, delay in milliseconds. Then we also need to remember the use effect API. And the use effect API has something built in that can handle the cleanup. Basically, whatever function that use effect returns, let's make it super obvious, function cleanup like this. And then we say return cleanup. So whatever function use effect is returning runs when the use effect cleans up. So basically, it would be we throw in the current delay in milliseconds, this code runs, then we change the delay in milliseconds, and now this code runs because it's the cleanup, and then this new code with the new delay starts running. So far, so good.
I don't really understand why the cleanup.
So we will look at what will happen with the cleanup. Right now, it's doing nothing. The first thing that I wanted to make sure is, I don't know if you know that about use effect, but I wanted to, if you didn't know it, make you aware of this fact that use effect can the callback function inside of use effect can return a function, and this function basically runs whenever use effect reruns. Have you ever seen this?
Not really sure.
Okay, then let's make that obvious first. So let's stop rendering the second counter, and let's first show you the cleanup logic. So function cleanup example like this, and we say use effect like this. And then we can also say something that changes. Then changes right here, changes. And here we say console.log initial thing is running, and they return, and let's just inline it to show you all the different ways that you can write this. Console.log cleanup is running. And then we render the, or let's do it not component. We can do it inline in the app. So let's do it like this. And now we grab a state right here, and we say const count, set count, to new state, this will do 0, and we put the count in here. And now we create a button, trigger cleanup. And on click goes to set count C plus 1. Yes. Oh, and let's make it a warn, so it's super obvious. Warn, like this. So you're seeing here, initial thing is running, right? This happens when this use effect starts, and now we're triggering the cleanup. And you can see here, cleanup is running, and then again, initial thing is running. Right, so whenever we trigger the cleanup, now let's abstract away this into its own little cleanup component to make it isolated. Cleanup example like this. And also grab the button here and throw it in here. And this will go, and now we can here render the cleanup example. And I think warn is not good in sandbox because it renders too many times. Let's refresh here. Let's clear here. Clear this. What if we close the console and open it again? Okay. We run this. Oh, yeah, now it's beautiful. Okay, so React automatically also unmount, so it's not too nice. So let's trigger it one more time. Okay, so we have initial thing is running, right? This happens when this component is first rendering, and then if we click this button, which increases the count, so the component renders, this logs out, this is not running yet, then we increase the count, this changes, causing the use effect to run again, and then first this code is running now, the cleanup code, and then this code is running again for the next iteration of the use effect.
But
Is this
is the return function waiting until count changes?
basically yes, but it belongs still to the old use effect. So basically, cleanup example renders, right? And this callback is scheduled behind the scenes of React. And this runs for the first time, but this is still waiting for a rerun of this because this runs on cleanup basically. So when this changes now this runs for the first time for the cleanup, and after the cleanup happened, this is running again.
And that's just a baked in behind the scenes feature that in use effect
Yes, that's
we
the
have
thing that code didn't teach you, but it's part of use effect, and it's important to know because use effect literally means, hey, stuff that basically should be used to synchronize things with the DOM. For example, state, WebSockets, which you don't know yet, right? But you can think of use effect as something that allows you to sync things, and in order to synchronize things, you need initialization code, which is the normal stuff inside of the use effect, but you also need the cleanup code.
And is the return function always used for cleanup, whatever that means, or
Yes. So the return function only runs when the use effect is cleaned up, which can happen when the stuff in the dependency area changes, or when the component which uses the use effect is unmounted. So if we put in, maybe it's even showing here, let's try it out. If we comment this out and save, yeah, then the cleanup runs. Do you see it?
Okay.
And now we put it in again. Now both run. That's just weird, quirky React behavior because of React 18, but only the initial thing is running, and then the cleanup is running in the real app. This is because of React 18 does weird stuff in development mode. Like this double running here.
Okay. Yeah, okay, interesting. And what if I want to use a callback function in use effect that returns another function which I want to use for something else than for cleanup?
That doesn't matter because you cannot, like, even if this returns something, you cannot capture the return value. Right? Where would you want to capture this? It's returning into nothing / it's returning into React is capturing the return value and checks if this is a function. And if it's a function, then it uses it for cleanup.
I'm trying to remember what the example was that Code used for teaching use effect.
Data fetching or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. Basically asynchronous wrapping an asynchronous function, even though it's not recommended.
Yes.
But that's okay. So that's kind of an asynchronous thing as well, right? I mean, isn't that what you're just showing me with the return function of the callback function the same as a function, as an async function wrapped in another function? Or because
No, that's different. Like the stuff that Colt was showing you was he was basically creating an async function in it like this, and then he was calling it in here like this, so that you could do some asynchronous stuff here in the function body.
but he had to wrap it inside of another function.
Yeah, this is the outer function here, right? This one.
Yes.
From here to here. But notice it, that's also like the callback always happens. So this callback function always lives inside of use effect. We can even collapse this, right? Like, that's not beautiful if we collapse it. So let me just remove the code. So this is always here, this callback, right? But the callback can, inside of the callback, you can do stuff like defining an asynchronous function and then calling it. If you want to do asynchronous stuff, you can just do synchronous stuff like setting state, logging stuff out, and you can return a function that runs on cleanup, basically when the component amounts or when the dependency area, the things in the dependency area change.
So could you do both in the same use effect
Of
callback
course, yeah.
function
We
at the same
can, we
time?
can, yeah, we can do asynchronous stuff with this technique and mix and matches with the return technique and also do synchronous stuff. We can also arrange it differently. We could also do it after the init. All possible.
But not after the return.
No, because I mean, code after return never runs, right?
Yes.
This is
Yes.
straight out and be like, hey, unreachable code detected.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I
You could
think
also fetch in here. You could also do this here. But that is not very useful in most cases, but it will be possible.
okay. Okay.
Cool. Now I'm thinking, I don't know if this was already a lot because this was new to you, or if we should keep going with the useref thing. What do you think? What do you feel? Should we continue with the useref thing tomorrow with the interval? And this was already enough for your mind today? Or do you say, no, I'm alive, I'm awake, let's keep going?
Both. No. I mean, for tomorrow it would fit because tomorrow is another day which is not that where I don't have that much time.
Then let's
Recording.
do it tomorrow. I think then that's a nice two-parter because then we only do one really new concept for you per day. And I guess today we focused more on another feature of use effect that you didn't know about, which is the cleanup. And we also did a refresher on intervals and timeout. And then tomorrow we're going to throw all of this together. We're going to throw the interval stuff together with the use ref and the new functionality about use effect that you just learned about.
Yeah, I'm curious what the cleanup is going to be about. what
Yes.
that is actually doing.
Awesome.
Cool.
Then that's been it. So if you've been watching this live, thank you. Tune in tomorrow to see the epic conclusion of this saga. If you're watching the recording, join us live to find out a legitimate use effect use case, because the use cases that we've shown so far, as Leon already hinted at, are not what it's usually used for. We're going to show a proper use effect use case tomorrow. Other than that, this has been day 94 of 100 days of code with
use case and use ref and set interval and Leon Andersen and his mentor
Aleph Mill from NXF. Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow.
until tomorrow.